The Square Ball Podcast.
So, you join us for a rambling conversation around what seems to have been a problem at Leeds for as long as I can remember, but maybe not anymore. Is there a new hero in town? Has that hero been splashed on the side of new Square Ball merch available at thesquareball.net? Is that new hero Junior Firpo? And how deep does the left-back rot really run? To discuss that and more, my name's Dean Smith. With me, over there, is Michael Normanton. Over there, Rob Conlon. Where do we start with this? How big of a problem has the left-back position been at Leeds in, let's just take a spread of the last 15 years, Michael?
A major problem, but
Huge.
it's all forgotten now because how old's Junior Firpo? Mid to late 20s? It's fine for another 5 years at least.
He's only got a year left on his deal.
Need to get him tied right down.
An 8-year Chelsea contract.
He has genuinely been good for the last little while. Let's say as much as that. If we'd only ever seen him end of last season, start of this season, we'd be like, left back's not a problem. He's good. He's a bit patchy defensively still, but I think particularly at this level, I'm all right with that because he offers enough going forward.
2024 has really been his year. Like, I mean, I've said it loads of times on this podcast before, but I always thought fans were like, oh, he's terrible defensively, but he's good going forward. Just because he was terrible defensively, I thought, are we just overrating him going forward? But actually, like, this year, he's just been creating goal after goal after goal. And even in our recent game against Burnley, he briefly turned into Bobby Moore when he was one-on-one with a winger, and I had to like rub my eyes. I couldn't believe it.
Do you know what? That is the exact note. I'm pretty sure I'm going to check this. It's the exact note I made during that game.
That is it. I made the same note as well.
I've got the minute of it written down, and I did put. It was early in the game, wasn't it? Against
like 6
there
minutes
you go,
or something.
5.
There you go.
Firpo is Bobby Moore.
We noted the exact same thing. It was unbelievable, wasn't it? It was like Moore against, is it Jarzinho or something?
Yeah.
In 1970.
Just watches him, eyes on the ball, tries to go past him. No, thank you.
And previously, that is the exact same position where you've seen him one-on-one with a winger so many times, and you go, oh, it's either getting booked or we're conceding here. But no, he is a reformed man.
I mean, he did get booked about 20 minutes after that.
Yeah, but that tackle was really good, so, it's fine.
We'll always have that tackle. Yeah, early memories of Junior trying to defend are less Marcelo-based, I think, and more Marsh-based when he was playing a little bit too central. Ball goes over the top of him. Games against Leicester, games against Aston Villa. He just looked absolutely lost. But I think, like you guys have alluded to there, 2024, going forward, if we'd have signed him in January 2024, we'd be singing his praises. It's just what we saw of him in the Premier League. But let's take a little trip back to when we weren't in the Premier League, when we were decidedly fucking miles away from the Premier League, and we were making some very strange signings. So on the prep sheet here, I put down the last 10 left-back signings or players who would and could play there. I'm going to come to you, Rob. Who do you want to pick out of this list? Who do you want to talk about? Because there's some absolute shockers on this.
Well, this list starts with Adam Drury, and he could be sat in this room, and I still wouldn't be able to pick him out. So maybe let's not start with him, because I don't think anyone has anything to say about him.
Yeah, the round on Never Mind the Buzzcocks when they used to bring someone out. And you had to identify them. Adam Drury, a real struggle.
Stephen Warnock is an interesting one on this list, actually, because when we signed him, I was like I wouldn't say excited because I think Neil Warnock was the manager, so nothing was exciting. But he'd played for England, he'd played in the Premier League for ages, and I remember thinking, no, he'll be good. And he was on a podcast recently, I think it was Under the Cosh, and he was talking about his time at Leeds. And the way he remembered it, let's say, was that he was making all these brilliant runs, and none of the players could find him, and he was great mates with Michael Brown, who he thought was this brilliant professional and brilliant player. And he said that he was making all these runs, and because his teammates couldn't find him, he just stopped making those runs. The way I remember it was that he just looked knackered after about 10 minutes and looked like he needed to be subbed off at half-time, and he was either fucked or he couldn't be asked.
I'm pretty sure in that same interview he said that he basically saw the move to Leeds as a quickly sort of a step down to step back up, that he was like, I'll go to Leeds, I'll do well, I'll get back into the Premier League. But I think he went to Derby, didn't he, after that?
Because it was that time where Warnock could play a few games and you go, oh, just get Danny Pugh in the team instead. And then Danny Pugh would play a few games and you go, oh, Christ, get Warnock back in the team instead. And actually, I think we had Charlie Taylor out on loan, who was a rare good left-back, even if he was a bit of a snake at the end.
Yeah, he was the little break, actually, in the middle of it, where for a while we were like, he's just a really solid, good, well, sort of professional left-back until the end, when he decided against... Although, I mean, I've pretty much forgiven him for that, to be honest.
Yeah, it was weird because that's like probably the one thing Cellino got right at Leeds, where he saw we were paying Stephen Warnock a lot of money and we had Charlie Taylor out on loan. And he's like, that young kid who could save us a lot of money is actually better than him. The
problem with Cellino's approach to this stuff, though, was that he would just think that's the right thing to do. So that should just happen, and like would disregard contracts and stuff. It's like the same phase when there was a winding up order against the club every 5 minutes because he'd just go, "Oh, that's not fair. I didn't sign up to this deal. I'm not going to pay that." And then someone would take it to court, and he'd go, "Right, I'm going to pay it because I'm going to have to."
Or he'd phone down to the dugout during a game and tell Dave Hockaday to sub Warnock off. Which it was quite funny then when Warnock scored a goal and did the phone signal up at Cellino. But yeah, neither of them covered themselves in glory, it's fair to say.
No, they didn't. But Stephen Warnock, when you say scored a goal, I think we're all thinking of the same goal. It might not be the specific one that instigated that celebration, but the Stephen Warnock goal. Was it windy that day when that ball flew in?
He meant it.
His arm aloft. Yeah, there we go.
Like Alan Shearer.
The confidence of that celebration, having scored that goal, is remarkable. I wish we all had that confidence to take into every day.
If you've not seen it, just do look it up. It's delightful. The way you can see the flight of it, and you go, "Oh, okay, it's gone in." It seems to go so incredibly high. You think there's no way that's going in, but it's somehow the wind just conspires to drag it in.
Yeah, it had snow on it by the time it hit the back of the net. Who was that against?
Yeovil.
Yeah.
Quite an open, low ground is Yeovil, isn't it? There's not an awful lot of stand to protect the pitch, I guess.
We've played some fucking dross over the years, haven't we, boys? Michael, where do you want to take us next?
I feel like I want to take us back to a bit further to the 2009-10 season, which is obviously remembered as a good season because we went up. And I guess a theme of our best left-backs being not left-backs and people who just ended up there. Because Andy Hughes was the left-back I mainly remember from that season, who was a right-footed central midfielder, stroke right midfielder, stroke attacking midfielder, depending on which bit of his career you found him in. And he was probably our best left back that year because the other alternatives were Shane Lowry, awful. Tony Capaldi came in on loan for a little while, was arguably the worst of the lot. But that season as well, you've got Sheehan, Parker, Lowry, Hughes, White and Capaldi all having a bit of a go at left back. And that's too many left backs to have in a season. You should ideally have one or two, and maybe once a midfielder fills in there because there's an injury. But to have gone through that many people just shows what a complete shit show it was.
Well, hold on a minute. You're always advocating on this show for just having multiples of players in various positions. So does this not please you?
I suppose it. Yeah, am I pleased actually? Yeah.
He's changed his mind.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
The problem is we signed about 6 left backs. And then it turned out the guy who was the best one was the right-footed central midfielder. I think was that also the season that we got O'Halloran on loan?
Yes,
who was meant to play left back, and did he rupture his ACL in the warm-up?
Yeah, it was either that or the year before, possibly. I can't remember.
Which again, when we're talking about is this a cursed position, that would suggest so. Lowry's an interesting one because I think it was in lockdown. Leeds did like a rerun of the Bristol Rovers promotion game, and Andy Hughes was on it with Beckford. I think Andy Hughes was just tucking into his tea while he did it, which was quite charming. But he only referred to Shane Lowry as the left back. He just completely dehumanised him. He wouldn't even refer to him by his name. And he said he offered us nothing that year, didn't he? And Jermaine Beckford was like, trying to be a nice guy. Like, no, it was all right.
He was fucking rubbish with Shane Lowry. I hated him.
Oh, yeah. I once saw him years later play for Perth Glory in Australia. Wow. And it wasn't a particularly high standard of football. I think he was playing centre-back by then. But yeah, he didn't stand out there either.
And he went to Millwall as well, didn't he? Which just made it worse. He's not even the main Shane Lowry.
Who's the main Shane Lowry?
The golfer. He's the main one. So even when he Googles himself, he'd be like, it's all about that golfer.
I mean, it's maybe for the best. But Andy Hughes is he's basically all I want from a left back. He knows where to stand, knows how to take a throw in, and basically all I remember about January the 3rd and winning at Old Trafford, other than Beckford's goal, was cross after cross going to the back post and sort of panicking. And Andy Hughes just being the coolest person in the world and just gently nodded it back to Casper Ankergren or chesting it back. And I was like, I love that man. And that's all I want from a left back. That'd be fine.
Well, yeah. Andy was very pleasing from a Leeds fan's point of view because he was so committed. He was named. We used his name for an award on this show. Over the years, and that is something that list of players that you've just read out there and other players on this list, you could never ever be quite sure that they gave the slightest shit about playing for Leeds United. but he did.
The great image of Andy Hughes celebrating promotion against Bristol Rovers, where he's been held aloft, he's topless, he's roaring into the air. For the oral history we did for a special issue of the magazine on that season, he was telling us that his plan for that celebration was that he just felt this urge that he was going to run to the back of the Kop, but he just couldn't get there because all the fans stopped him. And again, just what a guy.
It's funny as well because the year after we tried to replace him and we ended up with George McCartney on loan, who, again, a bit of an Adam Drury situation. I think I'd struggle to recognise him.
Bassoni as well before that.
Yeah, of course.
Who didn't last very long.
Yeah, that was a 5-minute thing, wasn't it? It got a few games in. Everyone was like, he can't play here anymore. It would be better if he just didn't. So which would probably have kept Andy Hughes. I know he did that nice speech of, him not being good enough for us where we're going and stuff. Turns out we were going fucking nowhere, so he'd have been more than good enough. Should have hung around.
Another player that stands out on this list for all the wrong reasons for me is Cameron Borthwick-Jackson. Now, if you're getting a loanee from Scumchester United, they've got to be really good. They've got to really want it. They've got to really commit. And my lasting memories, or are they lasting because they were so brief, were a couple of cup appearances from Borthwick-Jackson. And I've never seen apathy like it in my life. He just didn't look like he wanted to be a footballer, never mind for Leeds United. Just terrible.
That was a recurring theme of his career as well. I think he'd been out on loan at Wolves the previous year, and a good mate of mine is a Wolves fan. I think they terminated his loan 6 months early because my mate was like, he just looked like he couldn't give a fuck. And then the same thing happened at Leeds, and his loan moves just kept going down, further down the pyramid, and seemed to all end in the same way. He was infuriating.
Yeah, he was. I was reminded of him the other week when Hannibal was giving it the big un, and I thought, just remember Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, you're on loan from Scum now, but it's not long till you're on loan at Ross County, and you're like, oh, fuck. All my big Man United contract is gone, and I'm on like 800 quid a week all of a sudden. But yeah, I think he was one that, he was well rated as a teenager at Scum, wasn't he? So I think he was probably put on a fairly hefty deal, and I guess assumed he would at some point get to play for a good team.
Yeah, again, that's a recurring theme. There's a few players around then who played like 6 games for Scum, got a big contract, and then more recently, I was reading an article on The Athletic this week, actually, about Brandon Williams, who I think we were linked with last year, weren't we? But he's without a club, and it sounds like he wasn't even really turning up at training for the last 6 months of his contract, and I think he's made some poor life choices, it's fair to say.
Do you wish to elaborate on those?
Well, no, because they very subtly allude to some of them in the article.
Oh, okay.
Which the comments have been turned off on. So
got you.
Maybe people should just go read that and make up their own mind and not tweet anything about it.
Very thin ice here on the Square Ball Guide too. So let's list some other of these signings that have come in, and then we'll maybe talk about some happier times at left back. Adam Drury, Stephen Warnock, Alfonso Pedraza. He was left wing, I think, but has since gone on to play left back in Spain.
He's a very handsome man, is what I remember.
Do you think? Oh, not
he was a good-looking man, wasn't he? Not your type.
Not my type.
Fair enough.
No.
Anything to say about his hair?
It was just fairly standard, wasn't it? It was fairly
standard hair.
It was fairly short. It was fairly short back and sides, as I remember it.
I remember he scored a great goal against Birmingham away.
Yes.
Chris Wood got the other two. I think it was a 3-1 win. And then I remember him celebrating like we'd won the league in front of the fans and thinking, yes, go on, lad. I thought he'd become our new hero, but now off he wandered.
I think I don't know about the handsome thing. I'm just looking at him now.
Let me have a look. I'll have to revise my opinion. Maybe.
Who's the most handsome left back we've had?
Well, Strauch's played there, so it's game over.
Yeah, not as a permanent though. I wouldn't say.
Ian Hart has nice eyelashes.
He's not as handsome as I remember. Actually, I think he had nicer hair at one point.
Welcome to the handsome podcast.
It could be Adam Drury, but no one could ever know.
It could be Adam Drury. Could be Ryan Gosling, and we would have no idea.
No, because we remember David Norris for having nice eyes, even though he did nothing on a football pitch.
That's very true.
After Pedraza, in came Borthwick-Jackson, and then he left. Alioski,
again, a good left back who wasn't a left back.
He was a right winger, wasn't he?
He was
wearing number 10.
Yeah, but let's talk about Alioski. When we talk about Firpo, we are acknowledging that there has been a redemption arc, that he has gone from zero to hero in some sort. I remember when Alioski came in, we thought it was one thing, and he didn't do that particularly well. But then I would argue that certainly in that first Premier League season back when we got to 9th, between him and Dallas, who again we will talk about in a second, that left back position wasn't really a worry.
No, I think we tricked ourselves into thinking a proper left back would be a big upgrade rather than a right winger or Stuart Dallas, who played everywhere. And Firpo's subsequent 2 seasons would suggest otherwise. Alioski did have his shaky games, but he was just a madman, wasn't he? So he would kind of put those behind him quite easily, it felt like. And also he just had this amazing engine where he could just get up and down the wing constantly. It was a bit like sometimes Bielsa would just leave the left wing to Jack Harrison. And I think you could do that with Alioski as well.
Yeah, he used to chip in with a decent amount of goals as well, did Alioski as well, and assists. So it was useful. He was also difficult to watch at times when you were defending a lead and he would still be the furthest player forward. And you're like, please we're in injury time. Just stay back, please. Can I have a bank of 4 just for once? Just for this. I like the style of play generally, but just for 5 minutes, let's just have a left back in place for the whole time. But you couldn't stop him.
You couldn't stop him. And I imagine you probably couldn't say anything to him because we've all seen the videos of him in the pool screaming Calvin's name and shaking the tunnel before coming out. But there was always, I really liked Alioski. There was something nice about him. He was just different. He was a bit of a nutcase. Yeah.
And again, as I say, a non-left back playing left back, because you get Barry Douglas, who we sign as a left back in the Championship, who's meant to be well established at this level. You then have the Alioski Dallas period of non-left backs. Then you get a specialist left back in Junior Firpo. And again, it's not as good. So I think I'm advocating never having a left back.
I agree with you on that. Like all the good left backs I've seen in my lifetime haven't been left backs. But just on Alioski, like Will Almond recently wrote a blog about him and touched upon some of his strange moments off the pitch. And there were that many I'd completely forgotten. There was one bit where he was just walking into the changing room and he just shouted Peppa Pig at the camera. Like that. Yeah, that had completely passed me by.
And him just squealing as well.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Calvin!
And obviously asking Arpo Halme if he was nervous. That was a classic.
He's not got a club, has he, at the moment?
No, it was all a bit weird after he went to Saudi. Like, he's not played a club game for like over a year.
It seems to always end weirdly when people go to Saudi Arabia to play.
A lesson there, maybe.
Yeah, no one ever seems to really quite settle there. People often end up just like on a free or leaving after 6 months or whatever.
I guess it's a brand new league, innit? They're just feeling it out. So yeah, you touched on Barry Douglas there. Also around at that time, Leif Davis, who obviously, of course, Premier League's League Davis now. Is he one that got away?
I mean, yeah. Ipswich probably wouldn't have gone up. Even spitefully, if we'd kept him, we could have prevented Ipswich going up last year.
Why don't you let him train with the under 18?
Just let him rot.
Yeah.
So he can't put all those assists in. Although he did actually play terribly against us last year, didn't he?
Scored an own goal, didn't he?
He did. And he was not good in either game.
Very good Davis. Agent Davis.
Yeah. He will always be remembered for very good Davis.
I mean, Bielsa played him at centre-back a few times, didn't he? So, and then he seems like one of those full-backs where you can only really play wing-back, but if you ask him to play in a back four, it doesn't quite work as well. Perhaps like Jayden Bogle. Who knows?
Who's your favourite left-back, Rob, from the Leeds United's history?
Similar to in Leeds United's history or in my lifetime watching it?
Dealer's choice.
Well, let's stick to my lifetime because as we were just saying, I think all the good left backs I've seen weren't actually left backs. And Andy Hughes gets a very special mention. Gianni Alioski I liked. But I'll tell you who was a good left back actually and was a left back. Michael Gray, when we got him on loan in the Championship. He sort of saved us from Stephen Craney.
Now, he is handsome.
Michael Gray. Oh, you met him, haven't you?
Yes. Smelled nice too.
He looks like an 80s action hero. I always think Michael Gray. You could see him in like a film rolling around with Eddie Murphy or something, solving crimes.
Michael Gray's actually quite a decent name for it as well.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make a series,
Michael Gray.
Yeah. Let's commission it.
Are you playing it?
He's playing it.
All right. Well, we might
You're
not
a sidekick.
We might not be able to afford him. We might have to put a wig on you.
I can be Hooch to his Turner.
The two mics.
Wasn't Hooch the dog?
Yes, correct.
Okay, good.
Excellent. That's what I'm playing.
Anyway, Rob, your favourite left back?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Let's go Stuart Dallas.
Yes.
Again, not really a left back, but sort of everything I want in a left back. Again, just disciplined, diligent, knows how to not fuck up. And also, unlike Andy Hughes, did offer a lot going forward as well.
I thought that was going to be your answer, which is why I pitched it to you straight away, because, I mean, there's not been many better over the last few years. And this is a guy we're talking about who scored 2 goals at the Etihad. Was he playing left back that day? No, he was
central
midfield.
midfield.
Yeah.
But the versatility of Dallas is just remarkable, and what he did under the stewardship of Marcelo Bielsa was just brilliant. And when I think of Dallas at left back, I think back to the games where was it? Hull away, when that one of our goals, third or fourth goal, started at the left back position, and he was playing some lovely little reverse balls, receiving the ball again, passing into midfield. So not only did he have the discipline of playing really well as a left back, but also would be able to, like you said, bring the ball forward, create, score goals. We miss him. I miss him.
And unlike most of the players we've mentioned on this podcast, if you saw Dallas were playing left back, even though he's not a left back, you just go, "That's fine. Doesn't make me nervous. He'll do completely fine there." And it really annoyed me in like the relegation season when you'd get people trying to defend, say, Weston McKennie, saying, "Well, he's not a central midfielder. He needs to be attacking or whatever." And you think, why does him standing like 10 yards further back mean he's got to be a complete shithouse when Stuart Dallas can play anywhere on the pitch and just knows what to do?
Yeah, there's definitely an element of attitude there of being given a job you may be not comfortable with and going, right, won't be my first choice, but I can crack on with this. I can learn it. I can try my best. And the other attitude is to go, well, this is shit. I don't want to do this. I'm gonna show how bad it is when someone tries to make me do this. And Weston McKennie did a good job of that. An
incredible job of that. And again, it comes back to what Leeds United fans want to see, and it is effort and application. And Hughes, Dallas, all these guys had it in absolute spades.
That's why my favourite ever left back is Carl Dickinson.
He was good.
He was a proper nutter, was Carl Dickinson.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was his debut. Might have been Palace or somewhere. I can't remember. I just remember seeing him like screaming in some winger's face and thinking, fucking hell, it's quite intimidating, this guy. I was quite close to it and just thinking, yeah, good. I don't mind him. But yeah, he's had a very... I've just opened his wiki because I've been unaware of where he's gone, but hell of a list of clubs. Was like still playing now for Congleton Town at the age of 37. I imagine he's probably migrated to centre mid or centre back by now, I think.
Centre back, yeah.
That
skinhead.
Yeah, because he was quite tall as well. So yeah, he's a non-moving centre back is what I picture him as now. If we're going to go other sort of bald hard men left backs, we had Paul Robinson for a time as well, didn't we?
He was crap.
The other one, but yeah, he was crap. Very good on Champ Manager once when he was at Watford. That's about all I can. I've been fooled by this on left backs before, because there was one where Tony Capaldi was quite good as well when he was at Birmingham, and then he turned up for us, and I was like, oh shit.
So yeah, what's your answer to the question I posed to Rob? Is it Carl Dickinson?
Probably not. Earliest left back, Tony DeRigo, who was brilliant, hastily replaced by David Robertson, who was terrible. Although I've since seen David Robertson in a documentary of him managing in India, and he's a absolutely top bloke. So I feel kind of bad for hating him playing for Leeds as much as I did. But I mean, Tony's probably the most sensible answer. Ian Hart, worthy of a mention for some very memorable goals in a time when we were very good. But yeah, just Dallas probably.
Yeah, again. Well, yeah, I mean, Tony DeRigo, he sat in this. I think he's coming in soon as well to chat to you guys again. But Tony DeRigo. Let me put my teeth in. He was the left back the last time we won the league. He's an absolute legend. And in that season as well, he won the Fans Player of the Year. So he must have had a really big impact. And again, you talk about left back scoring great goals. DeRigo used to stick it in from all over.
For the blog I watched back, the Sampdoria friendly after we'd won the title, which is obviously famous for David Batty just ruining everyone's afternoon, and it's brilliant. But yeah, watching DeRigo play there, and it sounds very obvious to say given we just won the title, he's just a really good footballer. Like everything he does just radiates class and coolness. And yeah, you think, I wish I could have seen him play a bit more.
So me too. Instead, I had to watch Nigel Worthington and David Robertson plodding up and down the left wing.
Well, by the time I started to go to Ellen Road, it was very much Ian Hart. And I thought he was, as a kid, I thought he was brilliant because of the goals he scored. And then I remember being at Ellen Road and we lost 4-3 to Newcastle. And I remember him getting absolutely skinned for pace by Nobby Solano, who wasn't known for his pace. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, maybe this might be an issue. He had the turning circle of a fucking tank. It was not an easy watch.
Yeah, and it was in that period as well where everyone was saying, as they've said ever since, just buy a left back. And I think John Arne Riise was always linked, and we wouldn't go above like £4 million for him or something. But then we did get Robbie Fowler anyway, just like cause. Just because we want another striker. It's like should have just got a left back.
So do we think that from Ian Hart onwards, we've been asking this question every single season: buy a left back, buy a left back?
Yeah,
Does feel like it. Yeah.
We need to really be looking at who's in the squad now, who's not a left back, who's going to be our best left back.
Can I throw a name in straight away? Gruev.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
We
as
put
well.
Tanaka
He's
in
slow,
midfield.
though, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's got a range of passing. He's tallish. He's got what they call a wand of a left foot.
I think ideally they need to be right-footed though, don't they?
What,
Just
for the
to fit
trajectory?
the criteria.
Because we've not even mentioned Berardi. Berardi played left back
Yeah, it did.
to a really, really good standard. And
Well,
he's right-footed.
That's how bad Borthwick Jackson was. We played Vernon Anita and Gaetano Berardi at left back.
Vernon Anita. Why did you have to mention him? just completely, again, a name that's just vanished from my head.
And, well, in fact, it was that bad. We had to play Berardi and Anita and then sign Lawrence de Bock. That's a hell of a season, isn't it, really?
I think we're still paying Lawrence de Bock until about a year ago, weren't we? Because of the length of contract.
Lawrence de Bock has just been let go by Atromitos in Greece. He's now unattached, so he could come back and do a job. He's only 34.
Unfinished business. And we have Isaac Schmidt is the other, the unknown left back in the squad at the moment, isn't he?
Of course, I completely forgot.
But we don't know if he's any good yet, so we'll give
Don't know anything about him.
give it another week or two, then we can write him off.
Yeah.
Then a couple of years later, bring out a mug. It's the obvious route.
Why do we think, just to kind of round this off, a couple of questions, why do we think that across this 20-year period, maybe since Ian Hart, why do we think that it's been so fucking difficult to buy someone to put into that position? Again, maybe Junior has done that now, but why?
I think it's because we might be a badly run football club for the last 20 years.
That's probably the actual answer, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
Or it is
the-
just
that is the
cursed.
logical.
I don't know.
I mean, even going back further, Terry Cooper had a broken leg for about 2 years, didn't he? In the 70s, he was out for a really, really long period of time.
Going back to great left backs as well, like Cooper obviously I think was the best left back in the world at one point, but then Paul Madeley, which was sort of the original Stuart Dallas, play anywhere, not actually a left back, but still arguably one of our greatest ever. Well, definitely one of our greatest ever.
Yeah, my logic for the curse is that Dorigo was got rid of too soon, and that's what created all the problems. If we'd have just kept him as our left back for a few years longer, everything would have been fine.
So we're going to bring back Tony Dorigo. We're going to stick him in boots. We're going to stick him on the left. If Junior indeed does get crocked when he's playing for the Dominican Republic. But speaking of Junior, look at that. Oh, it's a lovely mug. They're flying out, aren't they? So if you want to get your hands on one, I would jump onto the squareball.net sooner rather than later.
I would still back Dorigo to do a decent job. He's in good nick. I think Dorigo and Paul Reaney, even in his 70s, I think those two as fullbacks would still be a reasonable option.
They're both in great nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reaney looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's
He's not a scrap of fat on him at all, has he?
No, certainly not. So yes, thank you for joining us. If you have any thoughts on who in the current squad could get a few games at left back and do a job aside from Gruev, please send those thoughts to, is it mailbag?
It is.
Mailbag at thesquareball.net.
Dan might have broken it since, but you know.
Okay, yeah. If it bounces back, listen, we recorded this a while ago, but we'll speak to you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.